Sun Tzu once famously said, "To know your enemy, you must become your enemy. And if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." Helios Dagger at Combat Ineffective strives to provide you, the viewer, with that knowledge of the enemy or adversary through careful research. Our methods utilize multiple sources, methodologies, and disciplines to provide an intelligence picture second only to that provided on a battlefield. Every printed article, every video, every photograph provides yet another piece of the puzzle that is the ground truth. Our goal? To let you peer through the fog of war like the sun shines over the earth. From research on simple troop and weapon deployments to assessments on overall strategies, we will give you the ground truth like you are the commander yourself. Come join us in the briefing room. Subscribe to our YouTube at youtube.com/c/combatineffective. Chat with us on Twitter at combatineffect1 or join the ranks on Patreon at patreon.com/combatineffective. Helios Dagger. Done. All right. So I'm about to get started here. Hold on. Getting started here. There we go. Getting started here. Good stream. By the way, this is one of my friends, so be sure you take a look up Married in Minecraft here. And make sure you go and follow them on Twitch as well. Their link is right here at the top. twitch.tv/marriedinminecraft. So be sure you all go check that out. Okay, let's get started here. We're going to go over to my buddies at the Grim Reapers. And we're about to get started. Now, I did the research on this one a little while ago. And I've got to be careful which ones. I only do certain ones at certain times. So this is the one we're going to be doing right now. And I'm trying to get some more people in this. Oh, wait. Let me test to make sure if that's...
I hope you're doing wonderful.
Yes, that is all working. Okay. So let me start getting some people in here. Hopefully some start showing up. I would like that. And let me see if I can get the link for what I am doing. There we go, and boom. I know if you're actually watching this, you're probably seeing it like down 3. Oh, that's awesome. It's still going. It is still going. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, that's going to break it. So, what we did was... The idea was, and I want to show you guys, or at least read off what I saw on this, because I got a request from Cap of the Grim Reapers for a roleplay for one of these war games that he was going to be doing, and I will give you what was asked and what I went for and how I did this. So what they were asking about was specifically. And this is from Cap. It goes, I am thinking about Chinese carrier strike group attacking a coastal U.S. city. Any idea which city would be easiest to model with our terrain restrictions? Once we've decided which city, we need to figure out which bases are near it and which planes are operating from them. Before you get your teeth stuck in, I think we should agree a city or target area. So, from my knowledge of what I knew about this area, and basically where I knew our bases were, the area that I thought would probably be the most vulnerable to such an attack, at least of our major West Coast cities, would more than likely be San Diego, California being right here. Now, there's a reason I picked it. For starters, the U.S. wouldn't be expecting it at all. Like, if the U.S. were to actually be thinking that an attack was going to happen, San Diego would probably be the least probable area for it. So we're going to just get a spot. We're going to zoom out here, and let's go to my layers. Let's go to satellite. So I picked it specifically just because of its location. Now, most people don't really think much of San Diego as anything except, a place where the Chargers used to be from, the San Diego Padres are at now, and for people to, just relax on the beach in Southern California. And they're kind of right. I mean, you would think maybe a more possible target might be, and thank you for that, Married in Minecraft. I do appreciate that, Major. All right, so I got to minimize this. So, what I was thinking was, when you look at it, you'd probably be thinking maybe Los Angeles. I mean, it alone is a huge economic powerhouse. It's a big city. Or maybe San Francisco or Oakland, maybe. Maybe they would go all the way up to here and try to launch an attack into Portland, or who knows, maybe even come in here and try to hit Seattle. But the reason I picked San Diego is specifically where it is. Now, a lot of people are going, well, they would pick it up from Hawaii, right? Not necessarily. There's a lot of open ocean between China and San Diego. And just like people were probably thinking back before World War II started with us, that Pearl Harbor is impossible to attack, the same with San Diego. I mean, you've got, the stuff that's around it, a lot of people will go, there's no way. You've got a Marine Corps base that's just north of it at Camp Pendleton. You have the submarine base that is right here. You've got all of the San Diego naval bases right here, which is pretty much the largest in the area, like the largest of the West Coast. I think Pacific Fleet has their headquarters here. They don't have it in Pearl. I'm pretty sure it's here. And if you look at it, everyone will think, they will probably go after Hawaii first. But why would you go after Hawaii? Hawaii doesn't make much sense. Everybody knows to expect it. But look here. This is San Diego Bay. Looks nice and quiet, right? Looks very quiet. You have North Island right here, which is the Naval Supply Center. And this is also the Naval Air Station. And you've got, a submarine squadron right here. This is Point Loma. Okay? You have an ammo pier right here. You have up here, you've got all these, museums and stuff. That's actually the USS Midway right here. That's a museum now. And then when we go down here, you have most of the smaller assets of the Navy. You've got everything from Arleigh Burke destroyers to Tycho cruisers to... That's an LCS. That is one of the littoral combat ships. Let's see if I can find one of the Zumwalts over here, because I know they're here too. That is one of the LHDs, so those are here as well. Yep, those are... That's another LCS. That's the different hull design. You had two of them. The Independence and the Liberty, I think, were the two different ones. And that's looking at them right there. Then you come over, and I know I've seen them before. I'm trying to find where they're at. Right here! That's something else. That is the Zumwalt class destroyer, of which they have two of them over here. I've actually seen the other one. At least the last time I saw it, they had two of them here. Gotta find where it is. They're kind of hard to see because they kind of blend in with everything. But those are there along with all of these different destroyers and cruisers and everything else. So when you have all of this, there's still one more thing that makes this probably one of the biggest targets that anyone would want. And also the fact that you call it impossible automatically means that it's possible in the military. You don't ever say that something is impossible. It just doesn't happen. And the reason is right here. So if you're looking there, you see these two big boys, right? So which two big boys are they? Well, I mean, that's easy to find out. This one you can't quite tell just because the numbers are kind of hidden. But that one you can. Right there. So let's take a look at this. That says 70, right? So let's look at how I'm going to find out what that carrier is. Okay, CVN, and N stands for nuclear, by the way. 70. That is the USS Carl Vinson right there. Look at that. I did nothing. All I did was put that in. CVN 70, Carl Vinson. So let's go back over here. Let's see if maybe we can find the number on this. Oh, I think we see it. Yes, that is 71. So what is 71? We go back to this again. USS Theodore Roosevelt. We've got two Nimitz classes that are sitting right there in San Diego. And actually 3 of them are home ported here. 3 of them. So that means at any one time, there's at least one carrier that's sitting here. At least one. And the reason I'm saying at least one, I lived there for about 5 years. And while I was living there, it was uncommon to not see an aircraft carrier. And when you were coming over toward North Island, if you're in some of these hills, you can clearly see if there's any carriers there. Especially if you're going over the bridge. The Coronado Bridge here, you can clearly tell if there's any here. So, you've got that. Now, where is the nearest airbase that's going to be protecting this? Well, I mean, you're probably looking at it going, well, it's this, right? No, I'll show you why it's not this. So, you've got a nice runway here. Looks pretty good. And we zoom in. Well, those are E-2 Hawkeyes. I can clearly see that there are 3 of them. One without the radome here. Oh, we've got a couple F-18s. But there's something about this you need to look at. If you're seeing all of this stuff, and especially with stuff missing from the aircraft and all of this stuff around it, what are they probably doing with them? That's right. They are probably doing maintenance. I mean, you've got this one right here, which, boy, I can zoom in real close. I could almost probably see the pilot waving in this thing if there was in it, if there was one in it. And you can tell there's nothing ready for it. It's just sitting here. It's not armed in any way. That doesn't even look like it's an alert ramp. That just looks like a spot where they're putting it. And these, the same. They probably are not even armed. They're probably not ready to go. They're probably there for maintenance. We look over here, and I'm looking around. You're seeing some small boats. You can see all this different stuff. There's nothing here that's really a defensive weapon. And there's no aircraft. The aircraft that are here are either like the E-2C Hawkeyes there, or they are cargo aircraft. This is used a lot for supplies. And so when you look at it, yeah, could they put some jets here? Yes. But if you also look at the tarmac, I am not seeing any scarring here. Now, you'll see what I'm talking about with scarring when I go to the actual airbase that protects this. And we're going to be going to, you guessed it, Miramar is right here. This is the Marine Corps Air Base, MCAS Miramar. This one is the famous one from the first Top Gun movie because this was where Top Gun was. Miramar Air Base. This is the exact spot. In fact, you can even see Fightertown, USA hangar is right here. Now, when I'm talking about the scarring, if you look behind, if you look at every spot where these F-18s are, you can see all of this scarring on the runway. And that's because when jet engines start up, they're very hot. So what does that do? It does exactly this. And the more you do it, the more pronounced it gets. So, obviously, this is where the defense comes in. Well, it's not going to be these. These are Ospreys, by the way. You've got, also over here, these look like CH-53s. Wow, this is an old photo, or they still have them. Those are CH-46s. Those are not Chinooks. It's the Navy's version, which are supposed to be replaced by this. So I don't know how old this photo is. Then you got more of these 53s over here. These are big boy helicopters. They can lift pretty much everything. They're the biggest helicopters we've got. So I started looking into it, and we're going to let Cap talk a little bit here in this scenario so you can hear what we were going off of.
Wonderfully well, and I hope you're ready for an epic ending to our latest series of Chinese versus American naval-based videos. So here we go. What if China wanted to use a naval attack force to attack the west coast of America? Is this even possible? In reality, probably not. If China sent a carrier strike group out of China here, they would almost certainly be detected by the American Pacific Sensor Network. At that point, probably the US 7th Fleet would scramble from Japan here, intercept and block. Also, American forces from the west coast or maybe in the Pacific would be scrambled and would intercept and block as well, and that would be the end of it. But the great thing about our Wargame series is we can really ask what if. What if it did happen? Let's say, for instance, some crazy roleplay. China really wanted to make this happen. They sent a massive task force of all their destroyers and all their frigates and all three carriers, the Liaoning, the Shandong, and the Fujian, out to the southeast China Sea here. Tens of vessels, maybe nearly 100 vessels, and then they all split off at a predefined waypoint and went different directions in small 4-ship flotillas. Well, America would have to track all of these flotillas. They couldn't let one get by. With overstretched resources and maybe a bit of oversight, maybe one got through. Don't forget that the Pacific Sensor Network is not only active sensors like radars, it's also passive sensors like ELINT, listening to Chinese electromagnetic signals. What if one of these flotillas was a very small one, the Fujian carrier with maybe just one anti-submarine escort who had gone dark and cold, was no longer emitting, and managed to sneak out during the massive operation and sneak.
Okay, so a lot of people have talked in the comments in this specific video. They were talking about there's no way they could sneak across. Okay, the reason they're talking about it is, well, our satellites would pick it up. Okay, satellite is very good at picking up certain things in an area that you know you're going to have to look. And it can only take pictures at certain, in certain areas if it's in good weather conditions. Like if it's cloud covered over some of these spots, you're probably not going to be able to clearly tell what is underneath. You might be able to get something on maybe a synthetic aperture radar or something like that that shows, hey, there might be something here. This is one of the most traveled transit lanes for maritime commerce in the world. You're talking San Francisco and Los Angeles are right here. Portland and Seattle. Seattle up here is another big port. Vancouver's right here. You're talking Hawaii as well. And you're talking Shanghai, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea. All of these are major economic powerhouses. You've got Samsung here. Anyone have an Android phone? Guess where it's going to be probably made. If you've got a Kia car or a Hyundai, it might have been made here. In Japan, you've got Toyota, you've got Nissan, Lexus, Acura. That's just those. I'm not even talking about stuff like Nintendo or anything else that could be coming from Japan. And then forget it, everything else is made in China, isn't it? So you're talking iPhones, you're talking TVs, you're talking, even garlic. The largest producer of garlic in the world is China. And so that means all of those ships are going to be coming across on all of these different trade routes across the Pacific Ocean to here. That's a lot of traffic to find. And if you're talking, well, we've got, our SOSUS networks out here. It's not called SOSUS on this side. It's called something different, but it does the same thing as what the SOSUS networks did in the North Sea. And that is to try and find where certain things are going. And I think they're all passive sensors. They might have some active ones, but active doesn't really work at very long ranges. You're going to get pings off of everything. So you have passive sensors. Well, those passive sensors really were designed not for surface ships. They're to try to find submarines, specifically boomers and attack submarines coming from here. Coming specifically from the Russians, not as much as from here. And they certainly probably were not thinking about a carrier task force coming across, especially if it's only like one destroyer, maybe one frigate, and a smallish carrier coming across. So that's where that problem is. If you have a very large group of them come out and then split off, going in different directions across the ocean, you're gonna run into problems with that. And I don't know if you guys can even see my mouse cursor on this. I am trying to show it, but I don't think it's showing it. And I don't know how to do that. So if you have all of that, you might be able to get at least one carrier, one of the three in this shell game that's going across, to slip through, especially if you take, I don't know, let's say it wasn't the Liao, let's say it was the Liao Ning. Okay, it's just a Kuznetsov class. But let's say you take one of them. It starts going across with one escort. The other two take the bulk of their force. You have to search them out. You have to look for them. We do have very long-range aircraft that can search these. The P-8, the Poseidon, the P-3 is the Orion, that can do searches for this. But you still have to know where to look. You still have to have your surface search radars going out, trying to find them, and see where they're at. So it is possible. I'm not saying it's the biggest possibility, but it is still possible. Sun Tzu has stated that if you can attack where the enemy suspects it the least, it has a higher chance of a success. So where are we probably thinking that they're going to attack? Maybe here, maybe down in Guam, maybe over here in Guam, maybe over here in Okinawa, maybe Taiwan or the Philippines or Japan, but certainly not over here. Right? I mean, is anybody else thinking of the same thing? Which is, if you leave out if you make it sound like it's impossible, that makes it even more probable that it could happen. Let's continue.
Sneak into the Pacific, where it could get lost slowly over time, refueling at pre-designated positions, and then moving silently onto the west coast of America.
Okay, so one of the comments that was in this, when did they have, that the Chinese Navy, when did they get all this blue water Navy experience? So they're specifically talking about whether or not they would even have the experience to do this. Could they actually do the refueling going across this? I mean, you could practice that right over here the entire time. And I know some people will go, well, that's not going to be the same as going out here. No, but they've practiced over here. They've had ships going all the way over to the Horn of Africa. They say that an army moves on its stomach. Well, here at Combat Ineffective, we are no different. We are requesting your support. Combat Ineffective needs your help today, so be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Want to provide even more support? Then click the link below for our Patreon. We are looking for a few good sergeants, captains, and generals to bolster our ranks. So click that link and do your part. Support our channel today.
The coast of America. San Diego, in fact.
San Diego, you mean? Of course, discovered by the Germans.
I probably can't use that joke. I don't know what's going to be worth it on there, so I'm going to have to go up a little bit.
Research. My friend Raven, and I will give you his link in the video description if you want to check him out.
Boom! Here it is. Here is my shout out in this video. And yes, I was the one that did this. That I did all of the research on this. So, what have we got? This is the actual research that I got. I was looking at Miramar, stuff like that. And again, I was talking about specifically, could they make it across? Well, yes, they're a trained Navy. People might be saying, well, you know, they're not a trained blue water Navy. They don't have much experience. You can still train that stuff without being in the blue water area. You can still practice it and figure out how you need to do it. And again, all it takes is you to be able to do it once. I mean, the only time you're going to be able to know if you can do it is if you actually practice it. There's plenty of times where navies have done something, you know, an adversary's navy has done something that you didn't think was possible because, you know, whatever. I mean, who would have thought that specifically when you look at the Moskva getting sunk by 2 anti-ship missiles, the pride of the Russian fleet in the Black Sea, it was the flagship, getting sunk by 2 missiles. That shouldn't have happened. Stranger things have happened in this world. So let's continue.
Outdoes our research. Here is our surprise attack on a naval base of San Diego. 3 major defensive elements: supercarriers, smaller vessels, and MCAS Miramar. These are the defensive systems that we see that would be within range for a scramble defense. The carriers will be at spot 1. Carl Vinson, Abraham Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt supercarriers are currently homeported here. Just west is North Island. Can have fixed wing fighters, but is usually for logistics and rotary wing assets. MCAS Miramar has only Legacy Hornets due to the Marine Corps waiting for more F-35B 5th gen stealth fighters.
Okay, so this was one of the most confusing things that I put into this entire video, and I need to explain it. So, we're going to look at Miramar here. We're going to go up to it. These here are Legacy FA-18C and D Hornets. These are not Super Hornets. The reason for it is that the Marine Corps specifically wanted to make sure that they would get something to replace the Harrier. Now, that doesn't mean that they were going to replace all of their aircraft with F-35Bs, but they wanted to make sure that they had the capability that the AV-8Bs gave them. That is, that they could take off from the LHAs and the LHDs, and also take off from very small strips near the front lines. It's something that the Marine Corps needs, especially since most of their other assets would either be fixed wings that would come off of a carrier deck, or it would be rotary wing assets that could come off of those smaller ships, and that's all they've got. So if the only thing you've got are a bunch of, essentially a bunch of helicopters, it doesn't matter how good the AH-1 Cobra is, or the UH-1s, or whatever. If you don't have some sort of fixed-wing aircraft to be able to come in and help you out with an assault, you're going to be at a disadvantage. If you want to know more about that, just specifically ask the Russian VDV what happened to them when they tried to take Hostomel Airport outside of Kiev. The fact was they sent in 30 helicopters, and yes, so all of them were pretty much armed and ready for ground attack. They had rockets on these things. They also brought in Ka-52s and Mi-24s with it. But if you don't have fixed-wing, close-support aircraft with you, you are at a distinct disadvantage. And in that case, you probably don't have enough force with your own troops to do it. Now, what Cap thought I meant was that they're replacing all of these F-18s with F-35Bs. That's not what I was meaning. I misspoke there. Okay? And it wasn't well put into my slide in this. In fact, I'll even show you guys what I did, where they're at. I have a specific spot where I put all of these, and I send him all of my research when I do it. So, here it is. So, when we look at this, I did put in that they were Cs that are already there. I had put they are wanting more F-35Bs. They need to replace something specific. They're trying to replace this. Specifically the AV-8B Harrier, the Harrier 2. This is what they're trying to replace. Now, how many does the Marine Corps have? Well, it's debatable, but they probably had at most probably over 300 of these things. And you could tell right now these are all the squadrons that they had. They just replaced this one, obviously, in 2021. But they still have at least one here. If you have all of these different squadrons, we have, let's see, for the Harrier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. Each one of these is probably at least 12 aircraft, if not more, probably 12. So with that, you probably have about 100 or so. Right, and they've lost 110 of these things. But they're trying to replace those. Okay, so they're probably going to replace most of those, but they still have a very large portion of the aircraft that are on any of our carriers. There's a large portion of them that are Marine Corps fighter wings, Marine Corps air wings that are actually using the Super Hornet. They just didn't want to buy more of them. And the ones that have the Super Hornets are getting replaced by the F-35C. So the ones that should have been here, because they already do have them here, there's at least one full squadron of F-35Cs that are one of the fighter wings that come, I believe, off of the Carl Vinson, is the one that already has them. So those would have been the F-35Cs that are in this. Cap went for F-35Bs, but when it comes to the actual fight, that's not going to play that big of a role. The difference is that one is a VTOL version, and the other one, it can do carrier landings. Or they can only do, regular takeoff and landings. And the C version is the naval version, so it can actually do carrier landings as opposed to what the A one can do. The B one, I don't believe, can do standard carrier landings. I don't know if it has a hook, a tail hook on it or not. But it can still do a carrier landing. It's just going to do a short one. So that's the difference there. Now let's go back to the video here.
When they are finally produced. They didn't want to be stuck with the FA-18E and F Super Hornets and not get the 5th gen fighters.
And that's correct.
So
they just didn't want to get a bunch of them.
Interestingly, is mainly legacy Hornets while they wait for their newly produced 5th gen fighters. So that's going to come into play today. Raven could not find any real air defense assets in the area, with the exception to what ships and aircraft may have. In port, however, they would likely be turned off.
Now, the reason I'm saying that they would likely be turned off, if we look at San Diego, if we look at the harbor here, all of the ships are right here. Okay? So if they're going to start firing at enemy aircraft, they're going to be firing everything from the SM-2s to rolling airframe missiles, also to the Sea Whiz. Look at the area that they've got in front of them. This is all civilian areas, with the exception of right here, and you definitely don't want 20 and 30 millimeter rounds flying over this. You don't want missiles that are exploding and shrapnel hitting your stuff over here. And you certainly don't want it firing over this way and landing on the carriers. That's a lot of expensive stuff right here. And all of the civilian life, you definitely don't want that. So here, it's probably going to be turned off, specifically for that reason. Okay? So that's why I said that one. It more than likely would be turned off. Now, if they start going active and they get to, I don't know, probably about here, somewhere in here, yeah, they're probably going to be weapons hot and they could start firing at everything. Let's continue.
Which is going to be important. You can see active ships transiting in and out regularly. I've personally seen at least 2 destroyers transiting in and out of the port. More than likely still active if outside the port entrance.
And that makes sense if you're looking at the port entrance. You're probably going to still have your stuff active as you're transiting in, because you never know what's going to happen out there. Now, they probably have a lot of different sensors. Their Aegis radar is probably on. Their sonar is probably going. And they're probably not too worried about it as they're coming in, but they could probably just flip a switch and it's ready to go. Until they actually get into the port and they're in their safe waters, they're probably going to be watching out just in case, especially if the Chinese did sortie out like this. Somebody has put it into the comments, well, we would be all out there looking for them. Not everything is going to be out there looking for them. You're going to have a lot of stuff out there looking for them, but not everything. And again, the submarines, yeah, they might try to put a picket out there. But you can still miss. And that means you're still going to have something that could possibly get through. And the other part, that means they probably would be hot coming in. And the destroyers and everything else, they come in and out regularly. You might have a ship that has damage that needs to be repaired, or the engine's not working right. They need to be replenished, and they don't want to do an at sea one since they're right here by San Diego. So that's probably, some of the reasons. And if they don't think that they're anywhere close, of course they're still going to come in. Plus, you've still got Pearl and Seattle that has a bunch of stuff as well. So, if they're transiting in and out, there's any number of different reasons why they can't. You don't just send every ship you have in the fleet out just to try and find them if the Chinese have sortied out like that.
So, assets at Station 1, up to 3 Nimitz-class carriers, though usually only one is docked, the other 2...
And that up to 3 Nimitz, there's only 3 that are home ported there. I do know for a fact that up to 4 carriers have been in this port, but that was a while ago. That was a long time ago, and they probably were not all Nimitz class. They probably can handle it, but that's a lot of assets to have right here.
2 are out doing their thing. At Station 2 here, 3 LHDs and 1 LHA. All could possibly be in port, but give 2 in port.
And the reason I'm saying that is we don't know what the LHDs and LHAs need to be doing. They could be in or out of port, but that gives you at least about half of them could probably be in port. And in fact, if we look at this, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, one of these probably does not exist anymore. One of these, depending on when the picture was taken, one of these might be the Bonham Richard. Obviously, I don't know when they took these pictures. So we've got the 6, the 2, the 8, and the... Well, that's a 6. So the other one could be a 9. So let's take a look. And let's go with LHDs to see which ones these are. LHD 2 is the Essex. In fact, we'll just look at all of them. Which ones have we got? List of these. Okay. So, I said the 6, right there. The Bonham Richard. The 8 was probably another one that was there, I believe. That is the Macon Island. And we also had the 2, which was the Essex. So that's those 3. This one doesn't exist anymore, sadly. This one was destroyed by irreparably destroyed by a fire and will be scrapped. So that one is not even there. I think it's already gotten towed out of the port. Strange fact is my father-in-law worked on that ship years ago in the Navy, and I'm still trying to find a way that I can maybe get like something that says either like ordnance or Bon Richard or something like that to try to give him as a gift, but haven't found a way to do that just yet. So I don't know. I have a feeling time's running out on that. Boy, that does look like a 9 or a 6 now, doesn't it? I think that's a 9. So if we're looking, the 9 is not on here. That's got to be an LHA. But the LHDs, the 6 was there, and the Macon Island plus the Essex. We need to find that LHA. Interesting. That could be the America, which also is a 6. They both have a 6. So that could be the America that's sitting there. But that one also gets home ported in some cases out out in the Pacific near Tokyo. Well, excuse me, not Tokyo, but out in Japan. Let's continue.
Also at Station 2, 8 Ticonderoga cruisers is their home port. 4 in port at any given day. Also, Station 2, 13 Arleigh Burke destroyers, an average of 4 to 5 in port. Also, 2 Zumwalt destroyers, the brand new American destroyer. Also, importantly, 14 LCS, unknown how many average in port, but we'll look at that as well. Next, 3 up here is Miramar, where they keep 2 squadrons of the aging FA-18C Hornet, not the Super Hornets, 36 in total, and 1 squadron of F-35Cs, up to 20. I assume because it's the US Marine Corps.
And this is where the mistake was made between myself and Cap, between the C's and B's, but it doesn't really matter that much. Also, with these numbers, I'm giving an average of what would probably be in port. I'm not saying that they all would be out or that they would all be in. Gives a good average of what probably would be in and out.
Or he actually meant F-35B. Yes, in fact he did. I see it down there, F-35B. So I assume he meant F-35B. Also, finally, 4
Cap.
at Miramar, a detachment of Marines with Avenger and Stinger manpads for any air defense stationed at Miramar primarily. The first thing to note there is that there are no big, long-range American SAMs like PAC-2 and PAC-3 Patriot systems.
And that is something that I've looked at over here. I have not seen any major air defense. They probably don't expect to use it. The places that we have SAMs are in areas that we think that we're going to need them. You don't put them everywhere. Even the Russians don't do that. The Russians, the Chinese, they don't do them. I've looked at places in Russia and China to try and find where some of these things might be, and it's very hard to see where they would actually locate them. The Russians, some of their stuff, you can find it on Wikipedia or on Google to try and find out where they might have it, and you might be lucky to actually see it, but they usually don't have them out. And so with this, the Avenger and Stinger, yeah, there's a detachment of Marines that's at Miramar. Whether they're actually out walking around, probably not, but if there was something like this going on, you might have them out there just in case Miramar comes under attack. More than likely, they'd probably be closer to Pendleton, just because it's closer to the shoreline, and that would be more effective, but you probably still would want some air defense here, so that's what that is.
Why is that? Well, as far as we can see, because they're not expecting to be attacked. It's pretty much, like we said, impossible. China or anyone could actually get across the Pacific unopposed to get here, so it doesn't need defending, like for instance where Japan does need defending. There's nothing to defend against, so there's just local, low-range SAM systems at Miramar. Let's go into the details of the battle, and welcome to our simulation. If we pan out, you're going to see Israel, Lebanon, and Syria and whatnot. We're going to pretend that this is West Coast America. Inverted upside down, so north to south is mirrored. It's the closest we can get in game. We're going to start with the Chinese faction, spotted by American AWACS at 250 miles from the West Coast shore.
Now, all of you that have been watching this, and a lot of you were talking about different places that air power could come from to try and help. This is at 250 miles. Okay? Miramar in this is only 10 miles away. They still have to reach out to this point. That's 145 miles away. The closest air bases to this, there is one in Los Angeles, which I could not confirm whether it had F-15s or F-16s. It's just outside of Los Angeles, and let me see if I can find it in the comments. Someone mentioned it. Let's see, where's it at? I want to see if I can find it. Nope, it's not that. Trying to find where it's specific, because some people did talk about it. Right here, okay. NAS El Centro is only about 120 miles away. Let's take a look at that. They're talking about El Centro, right? Yep, we're going to pull this back up. Boom. And El Centro. El Centro, California. We're going to zoom out a little bit. We have it right here. PMWD, El Centro. What have we got? Can't quite tell. Very interesting, although that's an A6. So, El Centro. What do we have at El Centro? I'm going to look that up just to show this. El Centro Airbase. Let's just look up El Centro. Let's see. Airports. Naval Air Facility El Centro. Right here. Current operations. 2 operating runways. Home to a British joint helicopter force. It's not really showing anything here. They use the ranges here. This is not a spot where they actually use it. This is basically kind of just left alone. So yes, they could probably use it, but this is not where they would actually be at. In fact, you can see these are where all the naval air stations are. And the ones we would actually be looking at, they've got to be in California, right? Okay, Ridgecrest. Where is Ridgecrest? This is China Lake. China Lake's a distance out. We'll show you where China Lake is. That's up here. That's out near Nellis and everything. That's a distance away. So that one wouldn't work. Let's go back. Let's take a look at another one. Let's go California. What do we got? Sealy. This is El Centro, which we already just proved does not really have anything there anymore. So that one's out. Lemoore. This one is actually further north of Los Angeles. So this one's out. This one's about 300 miles away. So that one is out. We go to San Diego, obviously North Island, and we've already talked about that one. Point Mugu up in Oxnard. Oxnard is way north. To look at where this one is, that one, Oxnard is above Los Angeles as well. So that one's out. Now, these are auxiliary landing fields. You've got San Clemente Island, that's just a landing field. You've got San Nicolas Island, that's another, just a landing field. The one that they're not talking about in here is Yuma. That's because, well, I haven't looked at it because it's Arizona. That one is going to be probably the closest. And with it, with the range of that one, that is still well over 100 miles. We're going to zoom out, okay? You can see where El Centro is. El Centro is up over here. San Diego's over here. That's just a landing field. Further out, you have Yuma. Right here. Do they have stuff? Absolutely they do. They have the AV-8Bs there. They also have the Aggressor Squadron for stuff that they're doing out here with the Navy. So yes, that is there, but that is not going to be the main one. I believe they probably have the 35s coming in to this, the F-35Bs, but I don't know how many. So that is the closest. As far as Air Force, let's take a look. Let's see what the Air Force has in this area. U.S. Air Bases. Force. Let's see, where are they at? So let's see, Air, Expeditionary, Wings, Groups, Squadrons. Let's take a look. Let's see, where they got them. Trying to find where specifically you can find the Air Force, where their stuff is. Because I want to make sure that we see all the same thing here. And it's not that I'm saying that I know more than all of you, that, I know where every single thing is. I don't. I know where a lot of stuff is, but I don't know where everything is. And so this is good for both of us. We can see both of these at the same time. I'm trying to find where something says where all of their air bases are. Pacific Air Forces, we'll look right here. We've got USAF established. Order of battle, component air forces right here. So we've got 5th Air Force, which is all overseas. 7th is all Korea. Then you have 11th Air Force. So you have Elmendorf in Alaska. Nope, that one's not going to be useful. Pearl Harbor, that's Hickam. Nope, that's not going to be it. Elmendorf Richardson, again, not useful. Anderson is Guam. That is Alaska as well. We've got Elmendorf, Hickam, Elmendorf, and Elmendorf again. What have we got? We've got Air National Guard units. We've got Alaska, we've got Guam, we've got Hawaii. I am not even seeing California National Guard on this list. It's very hard to tell where anything is, actually. If you're looking at these lists, this makes it actually much harder to do it. So with that, you're starting to see where there could be a problem in trying to find anything. That's the Pacific. So let's look at other units. Let's just see. And that's not really showing me much. So I am not seeing where anything is in California, so that is very hard for me to determine where anything is. Okay? So that is one of the hardest parts of this. Air Force Reserve Command, Missouri Air National Guard, Hawaii, Guam, Alaska Air National Guard. Let's just take a look at California Air National Guard. What the hell? It just picked up that and tried to move something. It tried to move my entire Streamlabs. California Air National Guard. Air National Guard. Okay, let's take a look. What have they got? We've got a rescue wing. They have a fighter wing that's in Fresno. Fresno's a bit north. In fact, let's take a look where Fresno is. Fresno Air National Guard Base. Fresno, California. Where is Fresno? Oh my gosh, this thing is not doing it. San Diego. Way down here. That is way far north. San Diego's up here. Fresno's up here. So that one's out of the way. Let's take a look at the next one. What do we have next after Fresno? After Fresno, we have Airlift Attack Wing. That is March Joint Air Base, and that is MQ-9 Reapers. That's the one I believe that they wanted me to talk about, and that does not have any fighter support. I can even look it up. March Joint Air Base. That's in Riverside. So let's look at March Air Base. There it is. Finally it shows up. So that is out here. That one might be possible, but when we zoom in on it, and we're going to zoom all the way down, we're going to look at it. What we see are refuelers, and we see 2 F-16s, Okay, so we do have some F-16s here, right? There's at least 2 of them. That's a C-17. All of this empty tarmac. A bunch more C-17s. Not a single other fighter. And in fact, that looks like where they might have been at one point over here. So if I can't see them, I cannot assume that they are there. So that's why I didn't. And with this, these don't look like they would be airplane stands of any sort. And I'm not seeing, unless they're in here, they're not here. By the way, hey, take a look at that. That's a not the Reaper, but that's the global scout, the global surveyor, I think it's called. That thing would probably be able to find something, but they have a long range. So since I can't see where they would have their fighters at, I don't count them. Some people were also talking about Nellis and a couple other spots, but as you can see, there's really not much there. Now, if we look at Beale Air Force Base, that's in Marysville. Okay, so let's take a look at Beale. Just another spot, right? Beale Air Force Base. Up here, that is way north. That's north of Sacramento. So that one's out too. So this is why I specifically picked just Miramar. So if you guys are looking, if you're all looking, that's the only real airbase that we could use. Now some people were thinking, well, wouldn't they have anything in Camp Pendleton? Let me show you what Camp Pendleton has got. Because this is a Marine Corps air station right here as well. And it's taking a while. Camp Pendleton Air Terminal has nothing but rotary wing. There's not a single fixed wing I'm even seeing out here. And again, just like before, if I can't see any proof that there's a fixed wing there, I am not going to assume that they're there just for the sake of putting in these videos. So let's go to the next part of this.
They are going to consist of just one carrier, which until now has had its emissions off, and one, again, dark and cold anti-submarine frigate that have snuck through the net. And this carrier today is representing the brand new Type 003 Fujian supercarrier of China.
Now, the Fujian is not fully operational. The Fujian is their Type 003, and I will show you what the Fujian is supposed to look like. This is probably going to show the city, but I want disambiguation. Chinese aircraft carrier. It is this one right here. This one is going to be their largest one that they have. It's going to be about 80,000 tons. This thing is going to be probably one of the larger carriers in the world until you get to our stuff. It's still smaller than a Nimitz class, but it is by far larger than just about any others that are out there in the world. Anything else, there's nobody else that has that size carrier yet. So it is not nuclear. It's an integrated electric propulsion, but it is not nuclear. So it's probably a gas turbine or diesel generator. And it is a Cadobar, and they use the J-15 on this. With how many, they're not entirely sure, but judging by the rest of them, they could probably give an idea. Probably about 30 to 40 aircraft is my guess is what they could put onto these. But we don't have exact numbers yet.
Which isn't actually ready yet. It's going to be ready next year, apparently. Aboard her are her maximum complement of 60 J-15 Bravo Flying Sharks. The first 30 to take off will be in air-to-air config to attain and keep air superiority. They will be AI controlled and set to maximum skill level. They will be equipped with a myriad of very dangerous weaponry. For close in, we've got PL-10. Think AIM-9X Sidewinder. For long range, they've got PL-15, 6 of them. This is the equivalent of Americans' AIM-120D AMRAAM, It has a bit more range of around about 110 miles. And medium range PL-12, think legacy AMRAAM like AIM-120C. They will take off, go to maximum altitude and speed, and fight to get an opening for the anti-shippers. The anti-shippers are 30 flying sharks. They will carry a very interesting configuration. When the Chinese did their wargaming, they found that subsonic anti-ship or anti-ground munitions were not good enough to do this attack. It just wouldn't be possible to get close enough and to get through the defenses. So they've gone for their brand new, well, introduced I think 2018 YJ-12 anti-land, anti-ship missile. This is a supersonic missile. It's not stealthy. They've not done the American LRASM type idea. Instead, they've made it go really fast, over Mach 4. That's how they plan to get through the American defense. It's such a big, heavy missile that we can only get one on each flying shark. How many can real flying sharks carry? Well, I've been told 2, but we can't get it working, so it's going to have to be 1. It may be controversial, but that's the way it's going to have to be. And a couple of self-defense missiles. They will travel to the max launch range of the missile. The max launch range of the missile is 145 miles from target. Interestingly, in real life, it's more like 250 miles. It's not, surprise, surprise, working in-game properly at the moment. We do not have control over it. I have reported it to U-Boat, who is the guy responsible for maintaining the Chinese assets in-game. Hopefully he will listen to me and fix it, but for the time being, you'll just have to create your own roleplay why they have to get to 145 miles.
Okay, so for all of you that are going, well, why can't they get this to work? Why can't they get this to work? There are limits in the game. Somebody actually has to program these in. It's not like the Chinese actually give us this information and tell us exactly how to program it into the game. DCS doesn't have that. They have a lot of developers for their aircraft, for the armaments that are on it, but again, they're just trying to guesswork how all of this stuff is going to happen, and they're trying to give their best estimates. So that's why he's got this at 145. Is what the maximum range is. If you want to complain about it, complain it to the developer of the missile, not to Cap. He has nothing he can do about it.
That is displayed by this dotted threat ring here, which we will see in game. Once they spread out and reach that ring, they will fire their complement of 30 YJ-12 supersonic missiles, and they will be aimed at various ships in the port. I can't control which ship they actually go for. They will just go for whatever they want to go for. That's the Chinese attack. Then they will RTB and get the skedaddle out of there before Theodore Roosevelt scrambles. So it's critical that you stop these anti-ship units getting to this ring. They get to this ring, they launch their missiles. Once they launch their missiles, they're almost unstoppable. That's the idea behind a YJ-12. So it's very important you concentrate on finding and stopping those anti-shippers.
Now, I want you to notice something here. They're 250 miles out. They only need to reach 145 miles. That means they have 105 miles to reach. From here to here before they can fire. Any of these air bases that are out there, even Yuma, is too far for them to actually stop them from this range. So if any of you are wondering, well, why couldn't we use X, Y, and Z? That's the reason. They just aren't in range, even if they had it.
Guys, that's your job today. Next, the Americans. The Americans have an AWACS, an all-seeing eye in the sky with a detection range of 300 to 400 miles, depending on the hostile size. Note, the Chinese don't, and that's because they came in cold and dark. Obviously, if they would have had an AWACS up, then it would have been detected by ELINT and they would have been spotted further out. So no AWACS for the Chinese today.
And that is another correct thing. ELINT is actually very, very powerful in trying to find where certain things are. Just about every asset that the military, any military uses, they have a specific signature for radars, stuff like that. Matter of fact, most radars that are out there are named. You have stuff like the SA-2 guideline missile. The radars for that are like the fan song. But they have a specific signature if you're trying to look for them. And if you see it, you know exactly what it is without even questioning it. And that gives away what it is. The same thing is going to happen with these aircraft carriers. If they had an AWACS on there, if that radar showed up somewhere over here, immediately they would know Chinese are right here. It's like a glowing beacon. Yes, radar can show you a lot of stuff, but radar is very detectable. It is extremely detectable. It's kind of like using a flashlight to find anything. If you know what you're looking for, you can absolutely see it shining right at you. That's why when they talk about that you're painted with the radar, you know that you've been hit if you have the right detector. And it just shines like a beacon right back to where the source was.
Let's have a look at the San Diego port. We've got lots of ships, as per Raven's best predictions. 4 cold, dark Ticonderoga cruisers in port. 5 Arleigh Burke destroyers in port, cold and dark. Interesting asset here, we have the LCS. Pretty cool, huh? I've been trying to find a reason to use them, and now we do have a realistic reason to use them.
What I find funny is that he's got those and the Zumwalts. They haven't had a reason to use them. The Zumwalts right now are pretty much almost useless. They have a very special gun on them, and the Navy's not giving them the ammunition to use it. The LCSs have become pretty much a major pain. They actually have not worked out the way that they were supposed to. There's a lot of problems with the hulls. They don't have the missile system that they were supposed to have because that got canceled. It was actually part of an Army project, and the missile failed on that, so they lost their missile system that they were supposed to have for VLS. There's just a lot of problems there. But he's got them in here. He can at least model them, and we get to see them.
As well as that, we have 2 LHA/LHDs, as we believe they would do. Everything here is cold and dark, by the way. It won't be firing, it won't be manned. And finally, 1 supercarrier as predicted. We've got Theodore Roosevelt here. Like Raven said, there would be some assets traversing in and out, which would have weapons probably active. So we've got 2 Arleigh Burkes here on their way back out to sea, which are warm and ready to fire. Other than that, no defences that we are aware of. And finally, Miramar. Guys, is Miramar where Top Gun is, by the way?
Used to be.
Now, when they're talking about assets that we can see, someone said in the comments that they have an ASAM there. The NASAM is not a U.S. system. Yes, Raytheon makes the missiles for it because it's essentially just a ground-based version of the AMRAAM. And I believe it's like name 120C or name 120D, that they can just fire this thing right straight into the sky as a surface-to-air missile. However, the only spots that I could find that they have them in the United States were up near the D.C. area. I'm pretty sure I know exactly where they're at, too. I have not seen any documentation, any press, anything that shows that they are in San Diego. So that is why I did not put them in. And again, it kind of doesn't make sense that they would have them there. The reason that you would have an ASAM is if you're thinking that there's a major threat to the city. And DC has a lot of threats. It's always been a terrorist target as it is. And so you probably have that up to protect some very important sites, like, I don't know, the White House. This doesn't have the same issue in San Diego, so it doesn't make sense that there would be an ASAM guarding this area.
Where is it now?
Fallon Naval Air Station in Nevada.
Right. Okay. Well, anyway, the 10 or so miles away that it actually is, this is why I had to kind of flip the map upside down, is so I could get a port here, and 10 miles away have a Miramar, so that's why everything's flipped on its butt here. Miramar, we have the 20 stealths, which I think should be F-35 Bravos if they're US Marine Corps, and 36 Legacy FA-18Cs. So, first, AI F-35 Bravos. I have reduced the number of them slightly because we've also got some humans coming in to make up the numbers up to 20, but there will be 20 stealths in today. The stealths will be taking off first. The AI will be maximum skill level. When I use these stealths, I have to make the difficult decision whether to use them in stealth mode and carry just 4 AMRAAMs because we don't have the sidekick mod in yet, and I'm not even sure it's in real life yet. And anyway, it wouldn't work on the F-35B anyway. It only works on the A and C, so there you go. And only have 4 missiles, or go full murder spec and have 10 missiles, and it does make a massive difference. Now, I've been watching the results of the previous battles where we've been using F-35, which is becoming a more and more regular feature, as of course it is in real life, and I'm starting to tend towards the stealth configuration with...
Everyone kept talking about use the F-35s in the murder or beast mode configuration. That doesn't make sense. Everybody that talks about it is talking about it because it has so many more weapons that it can use instead of just the 4 missiles. But in combat, that's not going to happen. The only time that the F-35 is ever going to be used in that configuration is if they have complete air superiority of the area. And also if they don't want anybody else, if they don't care if anybody else sees it. There's very few times that this thing is going to be doing that. It gives away the exact reason that we have an F-35 with the stealth. And when you're dealing with something like a surprise attack, if you have stealth, you can get even closer, and that means you are an even bigger threat. If they can't see you, they can't kill you. I'm going to say that again. If they cannot see you, they cannot kill you. If they can see you, it's a lot easier to. And the J-15s with those PL-15s can absolutely reach out and hit something. You'll see that in the gameplay of this, what they do to the F-18s.
Less missiles. It just seems to be overall more effective because it is basically immune to fire until it gets really close. So today, the AI is going to be stealth configuration with 4 AIM-120Ds. AIM-120D is a long-range missile. It's not quite as long range as the PL-15 as per real life. It's more like 90-ish miles, where the PL-15 is more like 100 or slightly above, but they're more or less comparable. About 15 of those are going to scramble. Probably got a idea to jump over to my humans at that point. And I've got today Grump, Matrix, Poosh, Simba, Cannibal, Violet. Say hello.
Hello.
Boy.
Guys, you have a choice of either a stealth F-35B with 4 AMRAAMs. And it's important you think about this and choose right, because it's going to probably make the difference between winning and losing this very important battle. Stealth configuration 1. Or you can have a murder configuration 1. The murder is actually an A model because it's the only way I can get it to work. An A model is murder with 10 AMRAAMs, but you're not stealthy. This has a radar cross-section of 0.5 meters squared. It is very visible to the Chinese radars, and they will shoot you at 100 miles or something.
And you heard what he said. They can hit you at about 100 miles at that point. Whereas if you are using it in the stealth configuration, you probably can get within about 40 miles of them without them even knowing you're there. That means you have about 50 miles of range that you have with the AIM-120D before they'll even see you're there. That is a huge difference.
For the stealth one, only 4 missiles, but a radar cross-section of 0.005 meters squared. It's invisible until about 20 miles. So that's an important decision you must make. And then finally, the 36 FA-18Cs. It's a bit weird because there's not enough spawning places at this Ramat David that we've had to use for Miramar. I have to phase them in afterwards once the lightnings have taken off. It's the only way I can do it, but there will otherwise be 36 Legacy Hornets. So these are the Legacy Hornets that the USMC are using until they get their precious F-35 Bravos to replace them. The next thing I had to decide is which armament could they use? Could they actually use the modern AIM-120D? Well, I've got my friend Raven to do research, and apparently the Legacy Hornets can fire the AIM-120D.
And I did look that up. Based on press releases and everything that I saw, the AIM-120D can be used on the Legacy Hornet. They tested it on a bunch of different systems, and the Legacy Hornet was one that they tested it on. So it should be workable.
They won't actually use them to their maximum kind of envelope, but it will still be better than something like an old AIM-120C. They'll have 4 long-range AIM-120Ds, and this is all tested and working, 2 low-range AIM-120Cs, some hobs, and a bag. Finally, we have US Marine Corps 12 Avengers here. No idea how many they have in real life, but I put 12 here. Not that it's going to make a massive difference. This is a low-range defense system. So, that is the American Defense Force. Obviously, China is going to get as close to the firing line as possible. Fire them.
And by the way, he's correct about the Avenger. The Avenger is almost essentially a... you have to have line of sight to even use it in most cases. It's a very short range SAM. It's just a little bit longer range, I think, than the Stinger missile, if not the same range. And it also has a 50 caliber machine gun that is tied to the turret as well. It's a heat-seeking system. It's not a radar-guided one. So that's going to be fairly close range. So pretty much just point defense over Miramar is all it would be useful for.
Their missiles against the guys in port here, do as much damage and then run away. The Americans are going to be all-out defense, scramble as quickly as they possibly can, and that's one very important thing to note here, guys. As you know, humans are not compatible with AI. If you go messing around on runway 09 or on runway 33, you will break the game and AI will stop working. You must only use runway 11. That is the human designated runway. Make sure you scramble as quickly as possible because the AI are stupid and take like forever to taxi, and I've tried everything I can to speed it up, but I can't. But they won't be up until 4 minutes after the whistle goes. You guys can be up in 30 seconds. Which leads us to predictions. I think this is going to be a brilliant, brilliant fight. I've only tested it in single player, and single player is completely different to multiplayer. Completely different things happen for reasons that we don't possibly understand. So I only know so much of what's going to happen, but it's going to be a friggin' awesome fight. It's going to be absolutely white-knuckled, and it's going to be fast. This is not an hour-long battle. This is going to be minutes. You've got to get up as quickly as you possibly can. But, guys, fuel is very important, because we've had lots of problems where F-35s are running out of fuel. And lots of valued viewers on the internet are saying, Cap, you're stupid. F-35s will never run out of fuel. They carry so much fuel. Yes, they carry a lot of fuel, but you've got to understand that if an F-35 or anything uses afterburner, their range goes from hundreds of miles, or above 1,000, to tens of miles. The problem with afterburner is it's for emergency use only. And in any jet, even an F-35, it will just absolutely strip your mileage right down. So, we've got to be careful. You've got to manage that 150 miles as best you can. You can respawn, guys. Whether you actually get time to have a respawn, I don't know, but we'll see. We'll just have to keep an eye on your fuel and see how we go, guys. Same with AI. They've got to manage their fuel here and be sensible. And fuel is all modeled pretty well, by the way. Fuel burn rates are more or less about what they should.
Now, one of the things that people were talking about in the comments in this was about these F-35s using essentially Super Cruise. I have looked this up. The F-35 is not capable of an actual Super Cruise. Super Cruise is when you take an aircraft, say like an F-22. An F-22 is the perfect example because it was designed for it. It can stay at above supersonic speeds without using an afterburner. It is not something that is easy to do, but it was designed for it. The F-35 does the next best thing, which is essentially you get it up to full speed, and with the drag coefficient of the aircraft, with the how frictionless it is, how it slips through the air, it can actually do essentially a super cruise in dashes of like, I don't know, something like 20 to 30 miles easily that it can stay. Probably less than that, probably more than that, but it can stay within the envelope of a super cruise just because of the drag coefficient with the aircraft. So it's very slick. That means it can just go farther with that speed. It can kind of keep momentum going.
Should be, and fuel loads are more or less about what they should be. Predictions, guys.
It should be American win, provided the fleet is half awake.
The fleet is only 2 awake. As we believe they would be in real life, they're all cold and dark, and they will not have time. 10 minutes, they will not be able to get up and running. So there's only 2 destroyers that are actually up, warm, and ready to fire. So bear that in mind, guys.
When do the nuclear missiles from Vandenberg Air Force Base arrive?
Is that Germany?
Now, he asked about this Vandenberg Air Force Base. When I've looked this up, I have not been able to see anything from there that could actually work. So we're going to look this one up. I've wanted to actually take a look at this live and see what's actually there at Vandenberg. Vandenberg Air Force Base, which is a distance north, by the way. Okay, so they do have a runway. Let's see what they've got. Space Force Base now. I'm not seeing any real fixed wings anywhere, so that's going to be out. And I believe that they may have the Thade here, but that's about it. They do a lot of missile testing from out here, but I don't think there's anything from here that could actually affect what is going on there. So Vandenberg is kind of like not useful in any way on this. I do know that they do a lot of launches out of here, including satellites. I've seen that they've done satellite launches. Matter of fact, I've seen them do a SpaceX launch out of here. So because it's right here, Space Launch Complex 1 East, Firefly Aerospace. This is all here, but anything that could be useful in this isn't. So I think that's pretty much a no-show in this. And where it is a very large distance north. See, that's Vandenberg. San Diego's down here. So for it to hit anything, I don't think it can. I don't think it would even be useful. That's a very long range.
Minutes.
No, it's on the coast of California.
Yeah, Vandenberg Space Force Base.
Right, I'm afraid to say that our beloved people have not programmed it into the game. So no Vandenberg missiles. Any other predictions?
What about the California Air National Guard and their F-15s and F-16s?
Well, I was assured by Raven they are out of scramble range. So.
And as you guys have seen, I've even shown you the research on this. There's none within scramble range that could work at this. There's not any F-15s or F-16s that are nearby. Nellis is too far away. We've seen that March doesn't even have them. If they do, they have 2. And that's still going to be a distance out. Yuma is still too far away because they wouldn't even be able to get to San Diego before they've reached launch range here. So that's not going to work either. So the only place that could actually put up any defense is Miramar on this. And somebody actually also put in Lemoore, which is the Naval Air Station, which actually, surprisingly enough, most of the carrier aircraft from these carriers go to Lemoore. But that is actually north of Los Angeles, and it's about the same range as Nellis or Edwards Air Force Base is. So they are not usable in this.
Blame him. That's another good thing to point, value viewers. Remember, even an F-15 can't actually go very far on full afterburner. It can only go 100 miles or so. These are very important things when to factor in when we're talking about minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes of reaction time, which is actually why I chose this place in Miramar, as I figured it would be one of the weakest spots in America.
We'll just conscript Mexico to help us.
There we go. There's the answer. Stand by for battle. And here we go, valued viewers. The big one. Can US, at what we consider one of its weaker points, defend against a, let's face it, stretching reality a bit, but a stealthy Chinese naval attack? Well, let's find out in 3, 2, 1, go. And we're off. Right, let's start with America. What do we got here? We're off to Miramar. Humans, what versions have you decided to fly? Stealth or killer or murder?
Okay. Stealth. Grump's already taken off.
Stealth, how about that? All right. One thing, valued viewers, I've asked you whether the gun pods that these can carry are stealthy or not, and you guys have given me a mixed answer. Some have said yes, some have said no, and I don't know who to believe. So,
okay, let's look this up. Let us find out right now while we are here. This is why I do this. Gun pod F-35. Okay. The Terma F-35 multi-mission pod. Reject all. Looks like it could be... That's interesting. Directed energy weapon or synthetic aperture radar. I don't think that's it. Has an underbelly attachment of a gun pod. It is under the wing. So if you're looking, this is very hard to tell what it's going to have. It's showing here that it's this. The new multi-mission pod. It looks like it could be a gun. And it kind of looks like it's going to be stealthy. You can't really tell, now can you? Let's take a look. F-35. All right. Armament. Let's take a look. We are talking about the surface weapons. Where is it? Cannon. In lieu of the gun, okay, has a Terma, have no internal gun, instead can use a Terma AS multi-mission pod, carrying the GAU-22A and 220 rounds. The pod The pod is mounted on the center line of the aircraft and shaped to reduce its radar cross-section. So it may not be actually a specifically stealth, but it's going to be low observable. So, but looking at that, reduce its radar cross-section, it's probably going to have a fairly low radar cross-section for what it is. Is it going to be full stealth? I don't know. At least based on this, I can't tell you.
So for the time being, I'm not giving them gun pods. Up go my boys. And the humans, because they don't have to follow taxi doctrine, can just take off super quick. As you can see, they are.
Well, I mean, we were right next to the roadway, so...
Yes, you were, because I knew you would mess around with AI and bully them. Because why do humans always have to bully AI? Why can't you be nice to AI? I'm nice to AI.
AI's never nice to us.
Yeah, they look after you, they do your chores, whatever. I went to a hotel the other day, I will stop yapping in a minute, and it had a vacuum cleaner that was fully automated. It drove itself around. I was terrified and wouldn't go near it. Right, that's my guys up. Let's have a look at the AI. The AI are basically just so nerdy, even in a scramble, life or death situation, they'll taxi at 5 knots. It's so frustrating. And they will just sit and spend ages just following doctrine, which you so wouldn't do if this was real life. In go, because otherwise your country gets freaking nuked. But anyway, that's the way it is. They'll be up as soon as they can. Matrix is in the lead. Now, what's the best way to go? Max burn, mil power? I don't know. I would suggest keeping an eye on your fuel and dealing with it as you see fit. One bonus of the stealth configuration is it's much less draggy. It will use less fuel, and that should all be modelled in as well. So that's one thing.
Now, keep in mind what I had said earlier about this not having a super cruise, but it's very low drag for what it is. So Matrix, who, from what I've been told, has actually been a fighter pilot of some sort. If you get up to high speed quick, and then drop the power down from the afterburner, you've got a good distance that you could do at above supersonic without using the afterburner. So if you get up to full speed and dash, you can hold on to that for a little while and get out there without using as much fuel. So that would probably be the best way to do this.
Thing to note. It's going to have a look at the Chinese. No, let's have a look at the San Diego port here. Our destroyers, which are up and moving now. Their weapon systems are up. Those, not so much. But is that cool? I love those LCS. Look how cool those LCS are. Oh, and we don't have a zoom vault, by the way. I looked and we don't have a zoom vault. I think there's only 2 in real life anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, Cap. There's actually 4 of them. There's actually 4 of these things. That's where they stopped making them. But they did make 4 of them.
Right, China are up.
A surprising thing about one of the Zumwalts, though, is one of the captains of one of the Zumwalts is named Captain Kirk. I am not joking about this. There is a Captain Kirk, or at least he was a captain. I don't know if he still is. He might be. That had the last name of Kirk. I don't know if his first name is James. I think it is. And if that's the case, we do have an Enterprise aircraft carrier coming into service soon, so who knows, maybe we'll see a Captain Kirk in the Navy in command of the Enterprise.
Turn the sensors on, they've realised they can't get any further before being detected, and they are up. They're scrambling their flying sharks. And that, sir, is a freaking flying shark. I'm a fan of the flying shark. I mean, again, assuming it does what it says on paper, because it's got all the benefits of the flanker, or more or less, but with the benefits of the brand new Chinese missiles as well, which, again, on paper, should be genuinely good. They're going to get as high and as fast as they possibly can, because they want to start lobbing those missiles over at America. Now, the problem is they won't be able to do that, because America is using stealth configuration, which means the flying sharks can only see the stealths at 20 miles, whereas the stealths can see the J-15s at, I don't know, 100 miles, something like that. Bear in mind that jammers will be in use today, and that always makes things more difficult, so expect jammers. Let's have a look at Fujian. Of course, no, it's not Fujian, because we don't have Fujian, because we don't know much about Fujian. So we've got an American supercarrier. Instead, its launch rates will probably be more or less about the same, I'd expect. For flying sharks, 30 air-to-air flying sharks, and then 30 air-to-ground flying sharks, if everything works out right, which I hope it does. We had to really bodge the flying sharks to get them working with the steam catapult, but as you can see, it just about works. They just about don't fall out of the sky. Which, you know what?
And that's actually would be very realistic to what the Fujian is supposed to do. It is supposed to be a standard carrier, not one that is going to have a ski jump ramp. They actually want to go with our system because a ski jump ramp, you cannot have as much armament on there, as much weight. You have to have less weight for that to work well, whereas the steam catapult, yeah, it takes up a little bit more space, and it's not as safe when they're taking off because there's a chance that if your engines don't work, you crash into the sea, but you can launch a heavier aircraft with it.
Is good enough. Oh, I'm excited about this battle, guys. The distance between the fronts are 153 nautical miles. Also, remember, the anti-ship Chinese only have to get to that point there, 145 miles out away from San Diego to fire. So it's critical that my guys get here and gain air superiority. If they don't do that and the anti-ships get here, well, I haven't actually seen the battle through to the end, but I'm pretty sure that port is going to go bye-bye. Most aggressive, as ever, is Matrix in the front. Oof. Matrix, talk us through your game plan. AI can't listen to you.
Okay, got up to 40,000 feet plus, no contrails. Track while scan mode, I'm looking for the targets. I'm not expecting them to appear until about 120 miles on the radar.
Roger, I can see you're in Super Cruise as well, so you're supersonic without...
Okay, now, Cap has said Super Cruise, but it does not have that ability. He just misspoke there. Like I said before, the F-35 is not capable of the Super Cruise. The F-22 is. But, again, you get this up to high speed, you get it up to full speed, drop it back from the afterburner, and you've got some pretty good speed for a little while, and this thing will be able to just blast out there very quickly. And especially at that altitude. 40,000 feet, you can get up there, and those engines work really well at that height.
Afterburner, one of the beautiful things about having a slick stealth mode F-35, so he's burning next to no fuel, well, not much, he can go hundreds of miles, but he's also supersonic, so that's great to see. AI are up finally, it's taken them 4 minutes or so to get up. You can see the game clock at the top right there, by the way, and here they come. Now, what are AI going to do? AI will plan their fuel. It's pretty stupid and, you know, they're not super clever, but they will plan their fuel. So currently, they know a target's there because AWACS has seen them, but they're going slow. That's up to them. We let them do what they want. I've got here Poosh. Who's in formation with Poosh?
I think that may be me.
Violet Moon. They're taking a bit of a slower, more leisurely roll, but that's fine. I don't know what your fuel counter is, by the way, so you'll have to figure that out as you go. Simba's catching. Oh my goodness gracious! Talk us through it, Simba. What have you seen? 130 miles. Are you sure? Are you?
Okay, so there's a few things here. This is a part where I'm like, what is going on? This thing should not be capable of being able to lock on and fire that distance. It should only be able to fire, only be able to be in range at about 90. But here's one thing that you need to know: there are 5 humans that are right here. The other F-35s that are coming are probably right about here. But all of these here all have 4 missiles. Now, if each one of them hits something right there, 5 times 4, you can do the math there. That's already 20 of these that can be out, potentially, with the first strike, and they might not even know that they're there. And if this carrier air wing is only 60, that's already a third of your force out. If you fire all of these correctly.
You sure, Simba?
Picked them up. Sent it.
Locked up at 120.
Technically, that is above the range of even my AIM-120D that I've made in game. This is my AIM-120D, and I'm... Alright, well, let's see. I wouldn't suggest blowing your whole load yet at that range, guys. Technically, that shouldn't be a possible shot, but we'll see. The real AIM-120D value viewers would actually go much higher, but because of limits in my and Simba's brain, we have to keep it relatively low because we have a problem with the radar. Again, we just do the best we can. It's the best we can do. And in terms of what it can achieve, it's relatively realistic. The range is about right, the sensor is about right, and so on. Another shot from Simba.
I'm also murder spec, so...
Oh, you're murder spec?
Yep.
Wow.
So I am going to do long-range deterrence.
Right.
So hopefully I can slow the aggression down and let the stealths get in.
So look at the difference in doctrine. Simba, murder spec, going in full burner. I think he knows he's not going home. He knows because he's gone on stealth. Matrix Super Cruise.
Okay, so murder spec on this is going to give you 10 missiles. So if all of these were in murder spec, you could probably take down the entire thing if they couldn't see you. They're going to still be able to see you. He's going out there fast. He's passing up Matrix. You've got these already firing out. He might be able to take out some of them and also bleed off some of their missiles coming in because they're going to try and fire at him.
Mixture between the two, and these guys just on cruise. In fact, AI is going to catch them up soon, but that's very interesting. Oh, please don't say you're jammed. No, they're not. They're just really bad at taking off. AI is so bad at taking off in this game. But never mind, they've done their best there. Once all of them are up, by the way...
jammers on?
Yeah, that's the problem. Once they're up, the F-18s will start spawning in. Okay, let's have a look at the progress of this. It's fully out of burn now. I've given it... I'm not actually sure how many rocket motors this has in real life, but we've given it 2 to, go far enough to achieve 100 miles. And I've also noticed we now have the ability to put 3 rocket motors on, 1 which we can use to simulate a ramjet. So we should actually be able to do the Meteor properly now, which will be interesting. It seems to be new tech they're adding into game. Okay, it's down to 2.6 thousand knots. About just over on the Mark 4. Oh, and there, you see, some cons. Oh, the hostiles have made the error of conning. Oh, the hostiles are firing. PL-15's out. Must be at Simba, because they can only see Simba at 90 miles. 90-mile PL-15's coming in. Oh, this is getting exciting now. And this one, who's it going to go for? Is it going to track? I will be Uncle's monkey if this hits. This will be a 135-mile shot. Unbelievable, Simba. 100. You just broken the GR record. 135 shot in live action, 35-mile shot. And that's because he got so high and so fast. He's not going to have any fuel to fight, but he's done it. Well done, Simba. There's my boy right there. Another one going in. Oh, I went for the same target. That's a shame. Right. Inaccuracies or inefficiencies will happen. Okay, PL-15's doing their thing. They're programmed to have a slightly longer burn than the A120s, and they'll...
So, I know you guys could all see this, where that is not lined up with the engine. Don't yell at Cap about that, because he wasn't the one that designed the PL-15, and so he's not the developer, so he wouldn't be able to fix that. Somebody else is doing that. That being said, I want to bring up one of the comments. I just saw this come in. Somebody put this: thankfully, steam propulsion is mostly gone, and this was on... Somebody put in a comment, the San Diego base would be empty because all their ships would be out tracking the massive Chinese presence. So we've got a bunch of replies. At least active weapon systems, blah, 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 blah. I put, not all of them. This is home port. Some are in for repairs, replenishments, refits, etc. The sailors live in the area would still need time to get their bags, get on the ship, get ready for sea, cast the lines, and get out of the narrow port entrance. They replied with, if this were true, there would be plenty of warning prior to any attack due to intelligence, and ships would be able to deploy without a problem. Ships in for yard work could not deploy due to maintenance needs. Yes, we all understand that. There are usually 2 and sometimes 3 carrier battle groups deployed at any one time in the Pacific, and numerous ships and subs off the coast of San Diego preparing for deployment, doing local operations. Also, more than half the crew live on the ship. Now, when he's saying that there's at least 2 to 3, sometimes 3 carrier battle groups deployed at any one time, there is a time when that was not true. During Trump's inauguration, there was not a single carrier strike force that was deployed. You can look this up. It happened. There was not a single one of them deployed. The only thing we had out was an LHD that was sailing around the Persian Gulf. It's the only time we've ever had it with our Nemesis. So that's with that one. I replied with, it may have been true even a few years ago for single junior enlisted sailors to be living on ship, even in home port. The Navy has built barracks in many ports to rectify this. That being said, if that sailor is married, they live off the ship at that point when in home port, and that is correct. But we don't know how many would be. He replied that yes, they would have a trouble affording the rent in San Diego by him herself, so they would have to rent with shipmates. Commands do not always give a housing allowance to single junior sailors. Naval Station San Diego has very few barracks because ship's company is expected to live on the ship. Barracks on the station are for people in transit. Barracks are only used for ship's company when the ship is in the yard for extensive maintenance, and barracks are not very nice. It depends on the barracks and how long ago they were built. I was in the Navy for 23 years, and I currently live in San Diego, so I have previous experience with this. I took it under advisement, but he doesn't know if he's correct. It was a few years ago. So this is one thing we're trying to figure out, and if anybody of you is active in the U.S. Navy, especially out of San Diego, give me an idea. How many people are possibly on any of these ships if they're home ported and they're not in for, say, repairs or a refit? If they're just there for, the end of their whatever tour that they were doing out there and they can go back out, how many people are on a ship and how many do you think you need before you can get one of these things started up and get back out there?
They'll go about 10, maybe 20 miles further. Otherwise, the same sensor and the same fins and stuff as far as DCS actually cares. Right, Matrix is next in line at 70 miles.
Box 3.
And he's got missiles out. Simba's getting chased by the PL-15s, and as you can see, he's evading them, which is good. Remember, America has AWACS, Chinese don't in this case. Jesus, look at that closure rate. Can Simba get another kill? This will be probably over 100 miles. Don't know. We will. Oh no, he didn't. It ran out of whatever it ran out of. That's a shame, but he got one kill at least. Matrix is now firing this stealth configuration, and the interesting thing about this is Matrix can see these missiles onto target because he's stealthy. He will only be seen at about 20 miles, as is more or less accurate in real life. Words. Where's Simba gone? Did you die, Simba? Oh, Simba died. Got hit. That's a shame. You can respawn again if you want, guys.
No, I disconnected somehow.
Oh well, you can definitely respawn then. These things will happen. Oh, that's why your missile disappeared. Your missile just disappeared when it was about to hit someone. I was like, okay. Oh, well, that's internet, I'm afraid, valued viewers. Right, Matrix is pushing on his missile. 2.6 thousand knots, just under Mark 4. Mark 3.6 or something.
Okay, everybody. One thing we're going to do here is we're actually going to speed this up a little bit so you can see what's going on. But most of the comments and stuff are not going to happen. I want you to be able to see the battle, though. And if you want to actually see this, I would suggest going over to the Grim Reaper Zone channel. In fact, if you want to see this, the link is actually right here. I could post this up when I finally get this over to YouTube. I could probably post that up. But if you look, you can see the actual link right here. Be sure you also go over to the Grim Reapers channel, subscribe to them, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do this research and I wouldn't be able to have this after action review for it. So let's click it to 2 and let's go.
Roger, it should do more or less in real life. And missiles from AI coming out at 80 nautical miles. Now, I assume these missiles are dead. I don't think they've got long enough to launch. I don't think they can fire new targets. We made if they could. Right, aim on 20D. From Matrix, slow past the first target. It looks to me like, oh, it's guiding. You see that little
it doesn't work as well doing that, so we're just going to speed this up a little bit.
It might be the unlucky one who's got a PL-15 on him with a modern radar, and Matrix is out. Go get another one.
We just saw an F-35 taken down.
Well done, Violet killed the atoned herself by killing the
you're starting to see a lot of these J-15s
so
getting hit.
I wonder how the F-18s are doing. F-18s are yes, Simba Wimba.
I'm gonna do a nice sexy flyby of the port.
When are you doing that?
Right now.
Look at that. Super carrier, LCS, LHA, LHD, destroyers, cruisers. Pretty cool, huh? Right, back on with the battle. Oh my god, the front's getting close. Violet Moon is getting dangerously close to guys now. No, it's still all air-to-air at the moment, so at least no anti-shippers are out. Nothing to worry about there. Violet's got to worry about clopping one right in the face here. Violet, you've got an active missile and you to get super defensive. Good defense. Look at that. She got that 90 degree. Mixed with her stealth, duffed the missile up. This guy, no stealth, you get a full 5 meter squared RCS and you're hit in the face. Well done. Uh-oh, things happening. This guy's on defensive, but he's out of... Oh, the missile went right past him. Look at that. Have you ever seen anything like it? And that's the beauty of stealth, valued viewers. Do US Marine Corps need to keep buying stealths? Personally, I think so. Proving their mettle here. Violet has got herself into a possible merge. Violet's got herself in a friggin' dogfight, but she's got nothing to kill him with. Oh, she's got an internal gun. Whoops. I accidentally gave her a cannon when she shouldn't have one, but you know what? That's my error, so you can...
Accidentally gave her a cannon so she could do close in. More than likely, they might have already had them on these. I don't know. We don't know what their multi-mission pods are and how fast they can put them on. If they were planning on it, that would probably be... More than likely, they might have a gun already on them.
Can use it.
You can only apologize, Cap.
I can only apologise for that, valued viewers. It's almost impossible keeping up with all these mods and all the different versions we're using. There's a lot going on. Well done, Violet Moon! Friggin' hell, she's atoning herself. She's got in a dogfight with a supersonic flanker and nailed him. And saved her buddy. The dogfight freaking queen. Right, okay, what's going on here now? Another air-to-air. Getting a bit muddy at this point. Violet's found another guy to shoot down. Or has she? Yes, she has! Here comes Violet Moon! Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Look at that. Look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the stealth. Slowly growing on me.
Anti-ship jets, airborne.
Are you kidding me?
300 for 181.
Right, anti-ships are airborne. This is where the problems happen, guys. Violet looks very cool, but it's not that useful. You really want to be thinking about anti-ship now. Boof. Plus someone else just shot him anyway. And Violet, you've got yet another active missile chasing you. Do a thing. Do a Violet thing. There she goes, look. Get that 90. She got that 90 degrees. Man, this is freaking exciting. My guys are flying, apart from the friendly fire, my guys are flying so freaking well. They can't seem to do anything wrong. And bear in mind how confusing this is. All they see is a wall of jammers. That's all they see here. Where are the anti-ship? That's air-to-air. Air-to-air. Wondering... Oh, I've got too much to talk about now. Lots of air-to-air still. Lots of M120Ds going up. Where's the Hornets? Yeah, now you can see the Super Hornets, guys. So we've run out of stealths now. Here come the Hornets. Sorry, Legacy Hornets. And yes, the M120Ds are on and working, which is great. Let's see. Old aeroplane. Old aeroplane. 40-year-old airframe, pretty much. Violet Moon's got in another dogfight. How is she doing this? Freaking unreal. Oh, and this AI may be problematic. They're not as good at dodging as Violet. Oh, yes, they are. Hit that 90 degrees perfectly. So much easier to notch in a stealth than it is a normal plane. How the hell does Violet keep getting behind them like that? Force him into a dogfight. And guns, guns, guns again. That's super sexy. Okay, not sure it's super tactical, but that's okay. Right, let's keep watching. Look at Cannonball. He's done a thing. I don't know what he's done, but he's done a thing in a stealth variant. Oh, he's missing a rear stab. He's been hit. But he's still flying. Pretty sure it couldn't do it in real life, but you know what? That's okay. Violet's still in an epic dogfight.
I'm Winchester.
Uh-oh. That's okay, because you happen to have a name on D chasing him down anyway. Back to base for you, Violet. You escaped. This one finally ran out of legs. You can beat these big long-range missiles, making them turn. They can't turn. You make them turn, their range goes down to like 20 miles. That's something to bear in mind. They become aerodynamically not unstable, but inefficient. So bear that in mind.
900 pounds of fuel.
That's a Violet problem. You've done worryingly well to get this far, to be honest. Some of the last air-to-airs going down. Oh my god, you guys are doing so freaking well.
So what we're seeing here is what I probably thought would have happened anyway. With a lot of these coming in, it's not going to be that big of a surprise attack once any AWACS bird sees that there's a carrier coming. They're going to probably be able to get going and start getting stuff up. And with the F-35 just being able to be stealth, they can knock down a lot of these before they even get there. And with there being 20 of them, you're talking just with those alone, if they were all in stealth configuration, they can take down up to 80 aircraft. That's just with the F-35s. That's not even talking about the F-18s. The carrier itself can only carry about 60. So what does that have? That is a huge mismatch. And the fact that they can't see them till about 30, Cap is saying about 20 miles. I'm going to give it about 30 to 40 miles. That's still about a 50 to 70 mile range difference between the F-35 and the detection range of the J-15 with the PL-15 missiles. So that is a huge mismatch.
It did not go at all like this on single player, so it shows the difference that humans can do. When humans go in and humans play well and do human things, the AI just couldn't do. Didn't try notching, so he died. Okay, let's have a look. Anti-shippers out! Freaking anti-shippers out, but they're about to get whacked. Oh, this is so sexy. First anti-shippers are getting whacked, guys. Boom! Anti-ship. His own friggin' warhead exploded. Yes! Anti-shipper's going down. Yeah, that's my guys. That's my guys right there. Keep it up, guys. You've got to keep it up. There's 25 more anti-shippers to go. We may not get them get to the line. Oh, my pants are on friggin' fire.
I want to go see a doctor about that, Cap.
Right, look at that. He notched 5-meter RCS guy notched a friggin' AMRAAM. Fair play. Good work if you can get it. Oh, Violet, what guys got through and needs dogfighting.
Wish I could help right now.
Violet wishes you could help. Stealth doing stealth things. More anti-shippers going down from legacy AMRAAMs that were fired like 10 minutes ago. God knows how many miles. We can still definitely do this, guys. Hornets coming in. Hornets are still 90 miles out. They're burning. They're going as fast as their tiny little eco-saver engines can make them. Unfortunately, not fast enough. Now, here's a problem. Look at how draggy they are. Look at all their stores they have to carry on the outside of their body. This makes them very draggy. It needs to burn all the fuel, and they still can't go very fast. Fat Amy, however ugly she is, look how slick she is. Going much faster for the amount of fuel burnt, which is all super important today. Anyway, I'll stop yapping. Wow, this guy. Last Chinese defense. Mad guy. Just literally mad dogged all his friggin' missiles off. Look at that. Where are they going? Who knows? Who even cares at this point? Because anti-shippers are getting shot. There's an unintentional dogfight going on between AI, and that is always ugly to see. AI dogfights like blind muppets. Oh, Stealth just got smacked. He was out of fuel. Did you see him? He was going like 200 knots. He ran his fuel out. That's an Amy problem, I'm afraid. Someone's taking this guy down finally.
From Fox 3 times 4 on anti-ships.
Ooh, where's my grump? Where's my grump? Can anyone see him? There he is. At a range of, oof, 90 miles. 110 statute miles. That's grumtastic. That's where he earns that big fat wage check. Oh, Dick, he's getting lost in the post. US Postal Service, I'm afraid, Grump.
Yeah, especially when they deliver to my place. They always lose my packages.
Okay, where is this gone? Oh, look! They're shooting over the top of the stealths and shooting Legacy Hornets down at 90 miles. And here's the problem, USMC. If your Legacy Hornets, if you ever try going up against China, you won't get anywhere near them, as you just saw. But that said, he did get 3 AMRAAMs off, so I'll give him that. Again.
And that is going to be a thing, especially with the newer missiles that are out there. We've got the AIM-120Ds, which we can launch and fire at about 90. These PL-15s can supposedly go about 120 miles. There's a new missile that's coming out from the U.S. military that's called the AIM-260, which is supposed to be about 200 miles on a Mach 5 range. It is getting to be such a long distance between where you lock on and where you fire at the target, and these missiles are incredibly hard to notch and avoid. It is actually getting to the point where maybe if it's not even worth having the super cruise and having the thrust vectoring and everything else. It could be that the only thing that is necessary is having enough stealth and making sure that the radars cannot even track you. That actually could be more important than the speed of this and the range.
Same problem. Shot 100 miles away. Legacy Hornet. Oh, he beat it. There's a problem with the sensor. You see the sensor? The gimbal doesn't go down far enough. Unsolvable problem. But this one, not so much. Another Legacy Hornet shot behind the battle 100 miles away. You've got to have stealth nowadays if you want to be competitive. Stealth or massive numbers. Okay, most of the Legacy Hornets are up now. Last.
And he talks about massive numbers. No one's going to be able to have the, with the exception of the superpowers in China, no one's going to be able to have the massive numbers of this. This isn't going to be like World War II, where you're going to have hundreds of aircraft that are flying together in these massive formations, trying to take each other out. That no one just has the economics to even facilitate this. Most of these aircraft are millions and millions of dollars per aircraft. That's not including all the missiles that are on them. And if you think about it, you're talking that there's going to be, 60 of these 60 aircraft coming up just from the Chinese alone. 30 of them are going to be the ones that are air defense, that are going to be air superiority. You're talking maybe 5 to 6 PL-15s on each one, I think is what he said. And you're talking with just that alone, those 30 can take out up to 180 aircraft if all of those hit. Who's going to have a fleet of 180 aircraft nearby. You couldn't even hold them all on a specific airbase. So having massive numbers just isn't it. It's going to have to go into the stealth realm, or there's going to have to be some sort of advantage that you have on your radar or being able to defeat these missiles that is going to make you competitive in this.
Last 10 going up. 36, and they're going to get chewed to pieces pretty easily by the PL-15s. Not that there's any PL-15s left because all the air-to-air guys have been shot down. Grump's missiles are still in travel, 30 miles away from target. AI Lightning's going for this anti-shipper. Oh, look what Cannonball's done. He's got behind the anti-ship. I don't know how he did that. He can do that because they've gone away. Well, I don't know. He just can. He's got a stealth plane. Another stealth, probably out of fuel. Probably not even going to bother dodge. That's a PL-10. That's an IR guided missile. A lot of people in the comments asking why they don't flare. They will only flare if they're fired out by IR missiles, like that PL-10. They will not flare if fired out by a radar guided missile. Have no effect at all. So something.
Okay, the difference between the countermeasures. If you're using a flare, flare only works on heat seekers, IR missiles. You're talking your Sidewinders. You're talking the PL-10 there. I believe the AA-6 Atoll. There's a few of them that are for the Russians as well. If it is firing like a PL-15 or an AIM-120, those are radar-guided missiles. You can't use flares on those. They don't even look at it. They're looking specifically at radar cross-section. So the only thing that'll work on that would be either a jammer or chaff. Chaff is essentially basically just going to be like metal strips that are in the air, and that can actually decoy a missile in some cases. But with these newer ones, it's even harder. And some of these newer missiles have what is called the home on jam capability, which is if you're using a jammer on this thing, it puts out a massive amount of radio interference. And these missiles somehow have the capability to home in on the exact source of that and hit it.
To bear in mind. Okay, I don't want to worry you guys, but anti-shippers are now 13 miles from the firing line. Anti-shippers are 13 miles from the firing line. When I say I don't want to worry you, I mean, obviously, I do want to worry you.
I seem to have had a weapons malfunction, Cap.
Don't do it, Simba. Don't do it.
No, I didn't do it. The weapons malfunctioned.
Okay, well, you're going in with your gun then.
Okay.
No.
So they're going to start having a little bit of issues with these, with the weapons. There's something wrong with how they're using the AIM-120Ds, or some way that it's programmed into the game. They fire these things out and it just blows up. So for whatever reason, it's destroying some of the aircraft, and you're going to hear that in the next couple minutes. There's a few of them that have this issue. This is more likely a DCS issue. You could possibly have this in real life if the missile is not, designed right, or if it just has a flaw. But in most cases, this is not going to happen in real life. There's nothing that can do about it, but it does put in a matter of attrition that would more than likely would be happening. If you have, all of these different aircraft that are on a flight line, not all of them are going to be working. I mean, you can even look at a NASCAR race and you can have 43 cars out there and watch how soon one of them has to go into the pits because it broke. So it's going to happen with these too, and these are flying a lot, especially the F-18s and stuff. They do cap and they do training, even when they aren't, when the carrier's in port. So there's going to be breakdowns. It just happens.
I killed myself.
Oh, it will happen, guys. We make these mods ourselves, and we're not very good at making mods. Occasionally, you do get, the fuse goes off and blows your own plane up. Happens about 1 in every 50 shots. My apologies, Simba. Go and get another one. God saw fit to give you more airframes to use. Boom.
I'm gonna have to get another one as well. I just ran out of fuel.
Violet Moon she's out of fuel. She's a dead duck. Just respawn, go get another one. Cannonball has got in behind the anti-shippers, and thank God he has. And the first anti-shippers are now here's the thing. These guys here have AIM-120Ds. Oh yeah, they're firing. This guy's firing AIM-120Ds at 70 miles. They do work, but they don't work as well as AIM-120Ds on the stealths, because these guys have legacy old-style mechanical radars in here, which can only see other planes at kind of maybe 50 miles at best, whereas a stealth and its AESA radar can see planes at 100 miles. That's how we've got it set up. So these guys, they're starting to fire now at, 36 miles or something like that. Is it too late? Is it too friggin' late? Man, you could not script. As you know, we don't script our fights. We're not that kind of guy. We lose views, but we suck it up. Unlucky cannonball. Unfortunately, China saw fit to give themselves some self-defense missiles. Are these guys going to fire? Are these guys going to fire? I don't think they are. They're not. Yes, they are. Oh my God, YJ-12s are out. First YJ-12s are out. Just in time before the AMRAAMs got there.
Honestly, listening to Cap get excited about some of this stuff is some of the more fun parts about these videos. He just goes nuts.
Come on, guys, get back in the fight. Get back in the fight. And get in there now. You've got time. You've got 30 more coming. AIM-120Ds coming out from Legacy Hornets. US Marine Corps, why don't you give them better radars, douchebags? Jesus Christ. Penny pinchers. Too late, the goddamn YJ-12s are out. Now these are freaking unstoppable. America, for their modern solution for anti-ship, have gone for stealth.
Cap, why they didn't give them, better radars on these things? It's not penny pinching. These things are old. They're gonna be like 90s aircraft, and you're talking these J-15s are much newer. That's why they don't have them. They usually just don't pull out the old radar and put a new one in. Heck, I mean, one of the videos that just was recently up, we were talking about the radars that are in the Sea Harriers. The Sea Harrier had a Blue Fox radar starting in 1979, and despite the fact that it had issues in the Falklands and the pilots didn't like it, they did not replace it with a newer version called the Blue Vixen until 1991. Just because you might have something new, or just because there's a problem, doesn't mean you're going to automatically replace it. It takes time.
Stealth slow missiles. China have gone for fast missiles with big afterburners on. They get through it with force, a bit like the old Russian way of doing things. America gets rid of it by stealth.
And this is actually where there's a misnomer. Okay, yes, we do have a lot of stuff that is stealth, and they are much slower. But we are also working on the hypersonic missiles as well. So we're doing both. It's just that China and Russia are specifically doing a different style because they feel that the speed will give them the ability to get past our countermeasures. Whether that is actually true and active and effective, I don't know, and it's going to be hard to be able to tell. But if we were able to combine hypersonic stuff with stealth, and they don't even have the stealth missiles coming in. They don't have them for just their regular ones. Could you imagine what would happen then? We would have a complete quantum leap difference from what they're capable of.
Very different ways of doing things. Now that said, these are still very hard things to intercept. Intercepting something at Mark IV, it's not ballistic, but Mark IV is hard to intercept. Okay, old legacy missiles coming out from old legacy Hornets, look. Are going to shoot these guys just before the firing line. That could not have worked better. Well done, Legacy Hornets. So at the end of all of this, me slagging off the Legacy Hornets, they have actually saved the day. Just by seconds. Well done. Oh, Legacy Hornets, 2 more YJs out. 3 more YJs out. 4 more YJs out. Oof. There are now 6 YJs in the air. Now, guys, if you are quick enough, and you can shoot these down, I've given you the analog for that AAR radar in your F-35. It can track a YJ-12, as it could in real life. So you can actually shoot these down, guys. And you will have to. There are 6 in the air right now. Because I'm not sure San Diego can actually defend themselves from it. Great shots by the Legacy Hornets coming in. More AIM-120Ds. Boom. Smash in the face. So 6 missiles got away. AIM-120D. Missed. It's lost track. But it's a USMC problem. YJs are now break 50 miles out. And my boys are firing missiles at them. Can AIM-120D and AAR radar beat YJ-12? Don't know. Never tested before. Prepare to be extremely excited in your pants, valued viewers.
This is why Grumpmeister brings white trousers.
If
Also,
you're
we
even
still have,
wearing pants.
we have missiles coming out from our boats.
Oh my god! So much. Must watch everything, but
We
can't.
still have Legacy Hornets taking off from San Diego, or Miramar actually.
Oh, you've shot the YJs down! You've shot the YJs down. With AIM-120Ds, I think. I wasn't watching, but I guess AIM-120Ds from my human.
Okay, if you look here, you can tell that it wasn't the AIM-120Ds that did it. It was the SM-2s that came from the actual destroyers that are coming out. So if you look, there were SM-2s that were coming out, and then they weren't there. The SM-2s more than likely do have the capability of being able to knock them out. I don't know if their actual CWIS would be able to do it, but it depends on what the actual tracking radars are able to do, whether they can get a firing solution on something coming in that fast. If they can, they could just put out a wall of lead, and they might be able to actually hit them with those, I think they're either 20, 25, or 30 millimeter bullets that fly out of those out of the CWIS.
Humans. So, AIM-120D, best missile, shooting YJs down. Well done, guys. That's extremely...
Yep, I got them on radar.
Well done. Trade. More YJs about to be fired unless the AIM-120D can get there in time. Quick, save America. Yes, look at what boys are doing. They're shooting with the AIM-120Ds. They're tracking his YJs. A Mark IV. Well, I got one of them. There's only 3 YJs getting through now. My boys, Poosh is now firing at them. It shows the power of a modern plane with a modern radar with a modern missile. You couldn't do this with an F-18 and an F-18 missile and an F-18 radar. You cannot pick up those missiles.
From Fox 3 times 3.
Well done, Poosh. Saving friggin' America. And here come the SM-2s. They're old missiles. They're probably good enough to take down 2 YJs, I expect. Woo! Oh, 2 more YJs out of the source. Man, this big time sexy. Which makes me all sexy and giggly. See what's going to happen. They'll probably get hit. Yes, you hear them. You see them. Just sticks just smashing. Oh, it's taken. And I've got them. The SM-2s are enough to defend a couple of YJs. There are more YJs in the air. 2 more have made it through. Best battle ever, question mark. See what these Hornets have got. Oh, this guy's still fully loaded. Come on, shoot, shoot, shoot. Do a thing. Don't be a douchebag. He must be super low on ammo. Matrix fired at a YJ. That's my boys. I don't know how you're even finding that stuff, but well done. Look at this guy get chased by this old legacy missile. Hey, legacy missile, go back to the 1990s. Okay, 2 more YJs making it through. We're slightly worried about that. Right, Miramar, how's Miramar doing? Okay, everyone is now up. Oh no, there's still 2 Hornets taken off of Miramar. Put your gear up, guy who just took off. Or don't. Or do.
Hors d'oeuvres.
Hors d'oeuvres, indeed. Right. Oh, he just got his way out. Look at that. He got his YJ out as he got smacked. That is bad timing or good timing, depending on which side of the battle you're on. YJ out again. Still some sporadic YJs making it out. Can he make it in time? Can he make it in time?
Okay.
Oh, no. Yeah, his missile just fell off like a big douche. One more YJ in the air.
I don't know.
Oh,
does a missile fall off like a big douche? Anyone that uses douches, do they just fall off like that? Comments below.
2 YJs making their way through. Be warned, guys, there's a couple of YJs 40 miles out from San Diego. Need shooting down. These guys self-defense, trade, AIM-9X, PL-10, basically more or less the same missile in the way that they work. These guys are going to make it through. Legacy Hornets are going for them and firing AIM-1Ds at them, but don't know if they're going to get there in time or not. We'll have to see how these YJs doing. Okay, SM-2s are up from the ships, and I expect there will be enough to... Yeah, 1 down. I expect there'll be enough to deal with it. And AIM-120Ds. Yeah, my boys...
2 YJs.
Yeah, my boys are firing at them. Oh, hello. Hello. It's got through everything. It's got through the SM-2s. It's got through the AIM-120Ds. Could this sucker get through? The first missile onto San Diego freaking port. Man,
Thanks,
you
cannonball.
couldn't write this. Poor old Simba. He's got the worst luck today. It's gonna hit.
After the YJ went down, my missile just locked on you.
First missile has hit an American ship. It's a medium damage to an Arleigh destroyer. Oh! Something got through. There are 2 more in the air, guys. Oh, 3 more in the air. 4 more in the air. And then that's it. The attack is finished.
So far, one of these cruise missiles got through and it hit one of the ships in the port. Probably a good spot for it to get hit anyway, because if it did get hit in the port, all they would have to do is probably move it to... Once the fires are put out, which they should have a pretty decent way of doing that, they probably would be able to get it repaired fairly quickly. Just one of them, that's not too much damage so far.
Finished. Gotta shoot those 4 down. Let's get some nice meaty AMRAAMs in there, please. Yeah, I think to say friendly fire wouldn't happen today is a bit silly.
Yeah, my missiles keep blowing me up.
Yeah, it is a problem, and I can't do anything about it, guys. And it'll get worse as the game goes on. Unfortunately, we are not proper coders. We are tinkerers and bodgers at best. But we do the best we can with what we've got, as ever. If anyone knows how to solve that problem, by the way, I would love to know. But oh, look, one of them didn't fire his missile. Oh, no, he did. Look at the massive pylon we've put on to make the YJ work, by the way. Okay, 4 missiles coming in. SM2s all coming out. Now, this is going to be the final death throw of the Chinese, because their carrier's now dead as Theodore Roosevelt scrambles their air wing. Man, this be sexy. Has it got through in it? It's blasted its way through the SM2s. What is it? No, there's only one left. There's one Chinese missile left. How lucky are you feeling, punk? Oh my god, that's a lot of missiles.
It's down.
It's down. And that's it. Terminating simulation now.
Okay, so Cap was saying terminate simulation. That's it. He forgot something. If you look down at the bottom, you can see an F-18 is right here with 2 more YJ-12s on the way in, and they are probably fairly close. Would they get in? I don't know. Judging by the rest of them, it's probably bad luck on them, but there were still 2 there, and boy, did everyone attack him on that one, going, yeah, and you ended the simulation before those last 2 could be taken out. So, yeah, there could be 2 more that are coming in, and they could do some serious damage if they actually made it in. We don't know that because he didn't continue it. So I would like to thank all of you for actually watching this and watching this AAR with me. I'm going to give you some of my tips on this. Yes, that this would be a very big long shot of this coming in. It is a long shot. Would they be able to come all the way across? I don't know. But if they did, especially if they did this during peacetime without declaring war, did a surprise attack like Pearl Harbor, could they get all the way across? Yes, because what way would we actually have to be able to block them? There's not one. At least not legally, as far as, you know, as far as transiting across. We would probably see them, yes. We might be able to find them, and we might even be able to shadow them. Either with a submarine or with a ship or something like that, we probably would be able to find them. But let's say they did get across. Could this have happened? That's all this is about, is this is a what-if scenario. So a lot of people go, well, this is impossible. Just because it is called impossible, especially in the realm of military campaigns, of strategy and stuff like this, means that it is possible. I just leave it right there. It is possible. Okay? Just because you think it can't happen is the exact reason why someone may try it. Now, as far as the attack goes, yeah, this is probably how it would go. They probably would lose most of their aircraft, if not all of them. And they would be turning tail and trying to get out of here as fast as possible, because all of this stuff would probably be coming after them very quickly. That is where all of the other air wings that are out here would have the best chance of doing anything, if the early Burks didn't get out there fast enough to try and take it out. And then they would also have to get past Hawaii and everything else. So there's no way they would make it back. This would be a suicide mission. This would probably be the start of a war, if it was anything. There would be a lot of damage that would be done on both sides for this, but absolutely the Chinese would be the ones affected the most. This would be them trying to do a knockout blow to start with. Something that is going to hurt us for a long while, similar to what the Japanese did with the attack on Pearl Harbor. That was designed to cripple us while they had their run across the Pacific. They expected that we would get our battleships out there and there would be this huge battle, but that never materialized. So that's what was going to happen there. Once again, I want to thank you all for coming out here. Please do check out our channel. I'm going to show it to you here. looks like I've got another subscriber. In fact, whoever the subscriber is, someone put something new in. Smith and Wesson 22A, combat effective, and those lightnings regularly fly over me at work. Sad to see the old Hornets are gone. That is something else I haven't put up. Sad to see the old Hornets gone, but those F-35s are loud. I honestly did not get to see the F-35s flying over, but it is cool to see. If you will, guys will come to any of these channels and stuff, you can find me on Twitter at Combat in Effect 1, or you can find us on Twitch at Combat Ineffective 1. You can also find us at youtube.com/c/combat ineffective. Please follow us there. I've got a bunch of different videos that I've been putting up for a long time. I even have a few podcasts. These go back about 2 years. So please take a look. I've got a wide assortment of different things out there. Also, check out the Grim Reapers channel and subscribe to them. Give them some love. Say that you came from here so that they know where you came from. Also, if you would like to support this channel, please check us out on Patreon. We do have a Patreon. It is patreon.com/combatineffective. I could use the support here to try and create more videos, to try and make sure that I have the software and everything else that I need, including getting the royalties for music, for getting footage, especially stock footage and stuff like that, getting B-roll. A lot of that does help with finding this. So if you could support us on Patreon, we would appreciate it, especially up at the general level. We do have some gifts for the general level if you would join that. But we want to thank you all for coming here, and as always, we will see you on the next live stream. This will be going over to YouTube in a day or two. Thank you all for joining this live stream, and we will talk to you again later. Good night.